What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Auto Auction Rebuilds. Today is a video that I hope at least some of you find entertaining and some of you enjoy. The majority of you probably not, because this is a car channel, but today we're going to be talking about motorcycles, and we're going to start with an introduction to my new bike. But before we get to the new bike, I got to say goodbye to the old one. Well, the old one that's only 3 weeks old that I just got rid of for, I might as well tell you because it's probably in the title, a 2021 Road King. Yeah, I'm a brand new rider going from a Sportster 1200 to a Road King. Big difference in bikes, big difference in price, and it's definitely something I probably should have thought about a little bit harder on before I made the decision to just bite the bullet and do it. Let's go ahead and jump into it. We are going to talk about the MSF course at Harley World OKC. I'm going to tell you what that was like. I'm going to go through my experience. I'm also going to tell you how I failed the class, and then I'm going to tell you how I inevitably passed the class as well. We'll get into all of that later, but first I just got to kind of admire my bike one more time. I'm kind of sad to see it go, and I know a lot of you that are veteran riders are, and rightfully so, you're going to come on here and you're going to tell me that basically I'm an idiot for jumping out of the Sportster, which I really should have practiced on for at least 6 months, 8 months to a year before even thinking about getting a bigger bike. And you're right. You're right. I have never ridden a Road King. I've got myself into something. Let me tell you what the problem is, but first I'm gonna hop on my bike. Class teaches you hold the brake, climb on, mount, straighten her up, right? Kickstand up, key on. Make sure she's in neutral, right? Let's fire it up. I love this bike. She's a shaky beast, let me tell you. All right, so I'll go ahead and shut it off because I know she's loud. There's a couple reasons I've decided to get rid of this bike, and one of them, it's kind of stupid, but one of them, check this out, guys, the throttle. All right, when you turn it, it's supposed to spring back. Mine doesn't. Look at this, it binds. I don't know how well you know what, let me set her down, climb off, dismount. All right, I'm gonna take you over here. Hopefully you can see a little better from this vantage point, right? When you push this back, it's supposed to spring forward. This binds, the throttle sticks. See that? You have to, it's all the throttle's almost, there it is, it's wide open now. That's as far back as it goes, and I'm gonna let go. The throttle sticks on it. Okay, not a huge deal, definitely something that's fixable, but that requires me to send the bike in for service, and then you gotta wait. Next issue, the location of the controls. This is, I think they call this center controls, all right? These have me cramped up, like my knees are way up, and it's fairly uncomfortable when you really start riding it. And I thought no big deal because they have forward controls that mount right there. I'm not going to touch that exhaust, but you can get forward controls to relocate all of this stuff to the front. Same thing on the other side, and it allows you to kind of stretch out your legs a little bit. You know, these controls here all end up mounting right here. So it gives your legs more room, and this bike becomes a lot more comfortable. Next, I wanted some louder pipes, of course. Loud pipes save lives, right? That's the saying anyway. So I went to 2 different Harley Davidson dealerships, Fort Thunder Harley Davidson and Harley Davidson World in Oklahoma City, where I took my MSF course. And I explained that I wanted pipes and forward controls. And that's really all I needed. With those, I would be happy with this bike for a long time to come. I was informed that all of these parts are on back order with no ETA, meaning they literally told me it could be months before any of these parts come in. Well, I'm really planning on starting to ride a lot. I want to really start putting some miles under my belt and getting some practice in. So the idea of having to pay for the parts now and then wait several months or longer, there's no ETA, it could be a long time, that just didn't sit well with me. So I decided to start looking into a bike that already was set up in the manner that was going to be comfortable for me, and that's when I found the Road King. So now I'm going to make an attempt to justify to you why I went big and I didn't go home. You know, go big or go home, right? So I think for most people, you start out with a small bike and you get acclimated to it, and then you go and you get a little bit bigger bike, you know, something a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, get acclimated to that, and then you go and you buy a Road King or whatever other big boy bike that you would like to get. And for me, I really thought about this, and I was like, I'm just going to save a lot of money and I'm going to skip a step. And instead of going and buying the next bigger bike for like $16,000, which is what it would have been, instead of spending $16,000 after spending $10,300 on this bike, then $16,000 and then $25,000 on the Road King, I'm just going to skip that middle part. I'm just going to buy the Road King. All right, I've got the basics down as far as riding and steering and maneuvering, also counter steering on the Sportster. So I'm going to skip the middle grade bike and I'm going to go straight for the Road King. Now there's a lot of bikes that I could have chose from, and I think I chose the best bike for me. When you see this bike, I think you'll agree with me. It's an absolute piece of artwork, man. It looks like an old school, like a classic Harley, beautiful two-tone. I think it's called the pearl white. It's midnight crimson with like stone wash pearl, and it's a beautiful bike. Now this bike comes with a lot of options that I don't have on mine currently. And some of those things, most of those relate to safety. Now, this is a much bigger bike. I believe it weighs over 800 pounds. It's got a 107 Milwaukee 8 engine. She's a big girl. She's a big girl. Now, by no means is this the biggest bike out there or anything like that. It's not about that. What it is I went to the Harley Davidson dealership and I was like, man, I'm going to walk around and look for a bike that catches my eye. I want something that when I see it, I'll know it. So I'm surely some of you out there get where I'm coming from. You see a car, right, or a truck or a motorcycle, and you just know that's it. That's the one. Now, it's going to take some work. It's going to take effort. It's going to take practice, but it's worth it. When I saw this bike, it melted my heart. Like it was instantaneous. I was in love from the moment I saw it, and I knew I had to have it. Yes, it's a bigger bike. No, you should never start out riding motorcycles and jump into a big bike like this. Yes, I'm probably going to drop it. That's probably going to happen. Thankfully, it's got the saddlebag protectors. Thankfully, it's got the engine protectors. You can drop it. You don't want to. You don't want to drop this bike. I sure as hell don't, but it happens. It does. I'm going to take my time before I go and just jump out onto the road and start riding it. I'm going to do what my instructor, my ride coach, told me, and I'm going to sit with that bike for a while. I'm going to practice rocking it back and forth. I'm going to get used to how heavy it is, leaning it a tad bit to each side to get a feel for it, so I make sure to keep it upright. I'm going to practice the friction zone repeatedly. I'm going to know where that friction zone is before I ever take this bike out on its first ride. I am going to practice rocking, holding it, feeling for the brakes, really getting used to where the controls are on this bike before I ever roll it out of the driveway. This bike has everything that I wanted. It doesn't have everybody's like, why don't you get one with all of the controls and GPS navigation and stereo and the big fairing and the speakers? That's not what I bought a motorcycle for. Maybe someday down the road, but I doubt it. I didn't buy a bike so I could listen to the radio or so that I could use GPS navigation. I bought a bike because all I wanted to hear was myself, the wind, and the engine. That's it. I don't need to be listening to music. I'm getting on a bike to drown out all of the drama and the noise from everyday life. It's my therapy. I didn't even know it was my therapy until I got my own bike and went out on the road and realized how calming and how comforting it is to have nothing in your head but the road and the sound of the engine. It's liberating. It's a feeling that I could never describe properly to you. It's something you have to experience for yourself. So I don't need any of the frills, man. The Road King's exactly what I want. It's a big, heavy, solid, stable bike. It should be fairly comfortable to ride. The controls are right where I want them, and there's no distractions. So now that I've talked your head off about why I chose the Road King, let's get in to the MSF class and my experience at Harley Davidson World, Oklahoma City. I'm going to tell you how I failed the class like that. I failed just like that, and it's something that can happen to anybody, and hopefully I can help you avoid some of the pitfalls that you're going to run into going into one of these motorcycle classes. Then I'm going to tell you if I felt it was worth the money or not. So let me just start with going into the motorcycle class for the first time. Remember, I'm a noob, still am to this day, brand new to motorcycles, and there were two other guys in my class that, one guy in particular, he had no idea anything about a bike, nothing, not the clutch, not the levers, he didn't know anything about a motorcycle. All right, and I can tell you this, in 2 days of on-bike practice and then 1 day of just kind of introductions and classwork stuff, 2 days of actual getting on the motorcycles and learning them, you can go from never touching a bike before to riding a bike, doing figure eights, pulling U-turns, S-curves, preparing for stops, emergency swerving. You can do it. And I know you can do it because not only did I do it, but 6 other people in my class did it as well. So you can absolutely take this class, never touching a bike before, and they will take their time and they will teach you exactly what you need to know to be able to get out, not just ride a motorcycle. There's a lot more to riding a motorcycle than getting on and going. There are techniques, there are maneuvers, there are emergency procedures, there are things that you need to know in your head that need to be programmed into your brain because you're going to run into something someday on the street. And if you don't have those skills, if you don't know those techniques, if that's not muscle memory, you might end up in a bad situation. So I highly recommend it. This is not sponsored. It's not paid. I didn't get anything for this, as usual. This is just me telling you my experience at the Harley Davidson World Oklahoma City MSF course. My instructor was Steve, and he was an amazing guy. He's been riding bikes a very, very long time. He himself rides a Road King, and he's had a couple of pretty nasty accidents. And he's able to tell us his personal experiences as a veteran motorcycle rider, and that makes me feel a lot more comfortable in taking this class because I know I'm dealing with somebody that has real-world experience. I would take the class again 100 times over. I'm telling you, the class was probably the best money I have ever spent in my life on anything, was the few $100s it took to get through that course. So you walk into class, you start out by getting to learn the bikes, you learn the basics, you go through some introductions to one another. There were 6 people in my class, and that's pretty much it for day 1. Day 2, you come in first thing in the morning, you jump on a motorcycle and you learn how to ride. You do, like I said earlier, you sit on it, you start feeling the controls, the clutch, I'm doing this with the wrong hand because I'm holding the camera with the other, but you get adjusted to the throttle, okay? You get used to the shift lever, where it is, what positions do what. You get used to the rear brake as well, and you practice moving it by foot, walking it backwards and forwards, rocking it forward and backwards, backwards and forwards. And then you get the fun of walking it with your legs for a long time. It seemed like hours, but it wasn't. But you walk your bike all over the place. Your legs will be very tired when you're through with that exercise, just so you can get the feel of the bike and kind of understand how to balance it. From there, things pick up pretty quick. You start actually getting to kind of friction zone, moving around, where you're not fully released on the throttle, you're just in the friction zone, and you're just kind of kind of moving it a little bit, kind of just idling around, gently moving around. And from there, it again picks up even quicker. When you consider that you walk into this class not knowing how to ride a bike, and 2 days later, you're practicing some, for a beginner, pretty complicated maneuvers, 90-degree right turns, and you got to do them through the cones, and you can't go outside of them. The figure eights, oh my goodness, the U-turns in the box, swerving to avoid an obstacle. These are things that I, to this day, am blown away that I was able to complete all of those courses and that I was able to pass. I will tell you, your biggest issue is going to be yourself. You are your own worst enemy in this class, 100%. I was one of those students that could not look past the ground or the obstacles in front of me. I could not get it into my head that I need to be looking 12 seconds down the road. When you see a cone and you know you're supposed to be going through the cones, my mind, it looks down at the cones to try to go through them. But by looking down at the cones, you almost fall off the bike. The bike's not going to go where you want it to go. The bike goes where you're looking. If you're looking down the road, the bike's going to follow. If you turn your head in a turn, the bike's going to follow that way. If you turn your head back this way, the bike's going to go this way. If you look down at the cone in front of your front wheel, the bike's going to want to go down with you. Now, I never dropped my bike. I'm very grateful. I'm thankful to be able to say that because that is truly embarrassing, but a couple people did. It does happen. I was not one of them. I almost fell off a couple times, but I did not. I had my own embarrassing moment in class that I'm going to talk to you guys about here in just a second. But you will get the hang of it. The instructor was very patient with me, and he kept telling me, Randy, listen to me. You're looking at the ground. He kept telling me to trust him and look past what I'm trying to see. You need to see the cones in your peripheral vision, but your eyes need to be focused 12 seconds ahead of you down the street at all times. Once I accepted that, because I could not master the course. I couldn't do it because I was not following directions. I was too busy paying attention to myself. When I finally accepted that he was right, and I faced that fear of not looking at where I was going, and I looked up and I looked ahead. Let me tell you something. By the time I got to that end test, those little cones that you have to swerve in and out, dude, they were nothing. The little Sportster 500 tiny bike, man, I was getting up to speed, not even in the friction zone. I was full clutch out, and I was just zooming through them, so much so that at the end of the class, I got an award for a sharp turn superstar. Let me tell you how low I got that bike. When I was going through the straightaways and I was hitting those 45s, guys, I was scraping the pegs. That bike was getting low, man. The instructor was slowing me down because I was really getting moving out there. I had a blast. It was challenging, very challenging. It forced me to face a lot of fears. It forced me to do some things that were uncomfortable for me. But at the end of the day, I got it done, and I felt great about it. Now, we're going to talk about how I failed the test, because I did. I have a fear of tests. Again, you are your own worst enemy here, and that was true with me. I get nervous when it comes to tests, especially when there's a bunch of other people spectating. Of course, my entire class was there watching me go through the course. The thing that kills me is I thought there were certain parts of the course that I was going to have trouble with, especially that 90-degree right turn in the cones. I thought for sure I was going to mess that up. I aced the course. The whole course, I aced it. I got no points until one thing happened and it failed me. It's the easiest part of the course, in my opinion. It's stopping from a straight line. Not stopping in a curve, not stopping in a corner. No, this is just coming to a stop. You get up to speed, 15, 20 miles an hour. As soon as your front tires pass these cones, you hit your front and rear brakes simultaneously, and you come to a stop. It's simple, super simple. I failed it. I freaked out. I got nervous. I was doing really well, and I think that made me even more nervous, and I botched it. somehow I blipped the throttle when I was coming to a stop. The wheels went through the cones, I hit the brakes, and somehow I hit the throttle hard while on the brakes, and it carried that bike a little ways. Now, thankfully, I'd been practicing, and I was able to hit the clutch immediately to remove power from the rear wheels. I was able to come to a stop and compose myself, but by that time, it was too late. The bike came to a stop too far down from the line, and I automatically failed the course. And it was kind of an emotional thing for me because, like, I want this badly. Like, I can't really explain it. I don't know why. This is a demon of mine. This is a fear that I have been avoiding my whole life. And here I am right at the very end. I'm about to bury that demon. And I failed. And I failed in front of everybody. It was so humiliating, so embarrassing. And, you know, everybody in the class was real nice. Nobody was laughing or anything like that. Like, the people there were so nice. And they're like, what happened? And I don't know. To this day, I don't know. I don't understand how it happened. Obviously, it was user error. I messed up. The instructor didn't have to do what he did, but he gave me another shot. He said, stay after class. We'll do this again if you want to. He could have failed me and made me come back and pay my dues again, and I would have gone through the class again. He didn't. He stayed late. He worked with me. We went through that test one more time, and you know what? I aced it. I got no points. None. I didn't mess up a single part of that course. I aced it 100%. And the best feeling in the world is the instructor made you feel like you're part of his extended family. It didn't make you feel like you're just a student or something. Like, he'd put his hand on my shoulder and be like, Randy, you can do this. You can do this, man. I got faith in you. I know you can do this. And that encouragement is everything I needed to pass that course. So I got to give a big shout out and thank you to Steve, because without him, there's no way I would have accomplished all of this. He was the perfect instructor. So I got to tell you guys, again, it's not sponsored, but if you're local, and even if you're not, we had one guy came down from Tulsa to come to the MSF course out here at Harley Davidson World OKC. I don't believe you will ever find a better instructor or a better place to do this class. I just don't. I just don't. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to redo this and pass it my second time around. Now, on the written test, I got an 84, which is a B, right? So that's a good score. An 80 is passing. I got an 84, so I passed the written. I passed the riding course. I went to DPS, and I now have my motorcycle endorsement, which in Oklahoma is an L endorsement on top of my driver's license. And it makes me feel so good knowing that at least now I have the basic tools to get out there and not just ride a motorcycle, but avoid collisions. I know where to look. I know where to find escape paths. I know what lane positions I want to be in. I know how to set up for my turns. I know how to lean. I got real good at leaning. And I am now legit. Well, guys, she was just delivered. And man, she shines. I want to show you guys something. It's a cloudy day. It's very dark. It's gloomy. Absolutely awful. And even in this darkness, this bike just shines. The chrome, man. Now, I know a lot of you are going to dislike the chrome. A lot of people aren't into chrome. But let me tell you, man, I miss chrome. I love all the chrome on this bike. She is absolutely beautiful. Take a look at all of that chrome, man. I mean, it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. All down the front fender. Look at that detail right there. All right. Everywhere is just chrome. This is chrome heaven right here. Look at the pegs, the passenger pegs back here. Actually, you really don't call these pegs, do you? These are more like footrests. You know what I mean? Big old footrest. Nice honkers right here. Look at that. Oh, yeah. You got that Milwaukee 8107. And to think it wasn't that long ago that I was looking at these things at the salvage auction thinking, I'm terrified of these. I could never do this. And here I am. Granted, I haven't taken it on its first ride yet. And I'm not going to just yet. Not on this video. Not on this video. I will climb on. I will fire it up for you so you can hear. It's got some aftermarket parts. If my understanding is correct, those pegs have been replaced with aftermarket pegs. This seat is a Badlander seat. They changed that, so that's aftermarket. The pegs are aftermarket. The exhaust is aftermarket. This is Chrome Works, K-H-R-O-M-E-W-E-R-K-X, Chrome Works. There's the temp tag. She's a biggin. She is. She's a biggin. Definitely not the biggest bike, but she's a pretty good sized bike, guys. She is, and got a little key fob that comes with it. This thing has so many options. Including the security feature with that key fob there. I'll kind of run through them real quick, man. It's got anti-lock brakes. That's huge. It's got this like RSDS system. It's some kind of advanced traction control and yeah, like advanced traction control with ABS and stability control. A lot of stuff to help you in inclement weather. Obviously, it's got cruise control. It's got the big windshield, which is kind of a, I guess it just pops off. Like they told me that, see how it just slides into these brackets here? I guess you just, I'm not going to do it on video because I'm only got one hand right now, but you just pull the windshield up, you grab it by like here or something on each side, you pull it up and the windshield comes off. So if you don't want the windshield on, you don't have to have it on. So I like that because I'll probably pull that off for mostly city riding. Of course, you've got your saddlebags, right? Lots of room in those. They hold up to 20 pounds on each side, and of course you want to keep them balanced, so put about the same amount of weight in each side. Makes it great for throwing a booster pack in and going to do salvage yard walk-arounds, right? She's got a pretty big tank. I don't remember if it's a 5 or a 6 gallon, but obviously no radio, none of that, self-canceling turn signals, and then you've got your highway lights. I like the highway lights. The highway lights are these outer lights right here. Okay, you've got your regular headlight there, which is your brights and your dims there as well. She's a nice bike, guys. Cruise control, you push it to engage it, and then resume or speed up top, cancel down low. Your horn, this is how you scroll through the options on your digital screen here. All right, lots of little options there. Other than that, that's about all I know about it, guys. Of course, you got your fuel system activated right there. You've got your start button. You've got your hazard lights up top here. It's turn the ignition on here. There you go. She's lighting up for you. She's in neutral. Okay, let's go ahead and climb on. Mount up, right? She's heavy. Like, I'm not gonna lie, she's a pretty heavy bike, considering I started out just a month ago on a 300-pound bike, and here I am going from the 300-pound bike. Then I went to like a 550-pound Sportster, and I think this thing weighs over 800 pounds. Kicker ignition on there. All right, fuel system is ready. Guys, I know you want to hear this, so we're going to go ahead and just fire it up for you. Oh, man. Wow. I love it. I love it. You also got your fuel gauge right here. Oh, she sounds nice. She sounds real nice. Kick those highway lights on there so I can show them to you guys. I'll take you out back so you can really hear the rumble. I only sit her back down. Gently, gently. All right. These, man, I absolutely love these lights. Really do. Let me sit you down behind and I'll give you a little rev so you can hear what she sounds like from the back end here. Woo! That sounds good. Well, there she is, guys. I'm not going to take it out for a ride yet. It's like 38 degrees right now. It is, it's cold, and I'm going to wait until it warms up just a little bit. When I get on this bike, my heart starts pounding. Some of it is just excitement. I'm really excited. I'm also apprehensive. Obviously, as you guys know, I've never ridden a bike this big, this powerful, this heavy. I've always been intimidated the most by these types of bikes right here. If you're wondering about the color, if I didn't tell you already, the color, it looks a little different in different lighting situations, but it's actually crimson, a midnight crimson. It almost looks brown, right? And some people have said it looks kind of like plum purple, but it's got metallic flake in it. The paint job is an $800 option, and it's called Midnight Crimson with stone washed white pearl. Fairly expensive paint option on this bike. I'm going to go out. I'm going to practice, but first I'm going to acclimate to the bike. I'm going to get on it. I'm going to put it in neutral. I'm going to walk it forward. I'm going to walk it backward. I'm going to get used to the feel of the brakes. I'm going to get used to the friction zone. I'm really going to get to know this bike before I go jumping out onto the street and taking her for a spin. And I think that's probably the best thing you can do on something like this. I am well aware that I upgraded to a bike that was far too big for a beginner. I know this. I am well aware of this. All I can tell you is this was my decision, and hopefully it works out for me. I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to take it slow and easy, and I'm really going to get myself used to this bike before I go out and just start having a great old time with it. I'll probably take it right around the corner to a church parking lot where I can, really get to practice leaning a little bit on it, because this bike is going to lean totally differently than the Sportster for sure. Turning radius is going to be different. Everything about this bike is going to be different. So I'm going to take a considerable amount of time just to get used to the bike before I go crazy. Now, if you're wondering how much a bike like this costs, well, the starting price on the Road King is about $20,500, and it goes up from there. This bike came with aftermarket pipes, as I said, aftermarket pegs, aftermarket seat, the $800 paint job option. Then I think there was the RSDS option, I think, was extra as well. By the time you're done, this bike, as you're seeing it right now, cost me $24,000, and call it 25. It's like $24,995. That includes dealer prep, assembly, freight, shipping, all of that good stuff. Dock fee and everything came out to about 25 grand for a motorcycle. To put that into perspective, that's not far off from what the Jeep cost me brand spanking new for a bike. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. On the flip side, or not on the flip side, but the good news is the insurance on this wasn't a lot. I've got full coverage, of course, and I think it only came out to about $200 a year. So not bad at all. So remember, guys, I've said this before, and I'll say it many more times. What is it? Do as I say, not as I do. Don't follow my example when it comes to buying bikes and cars. I lose money on these things all the time, and I know a lot of people are going to ask, well, how did you lose money if it was supposed to be a deal where they take it in trade and you don't lose a dime? In fact, I just thought of that because Watch JR Go just called me, and it was the funniest thing. I answered the phone. I said, hello. He said, did you really just trade a brand new Harley for a brand new Harley? And I said, yeah, I did. And I lost a considerable amount of money in the process. As it turns out, the program that I was told about, the Freedom Promise program, ended. Harley Davidson did have that program, and that program doesn't exist anymore. Now, the dealer that I bought it from told me that if I had brought it back to them, they would have worked out a deal for me I don't know, because I didn't go back to them. I'm still trying to work out a few details with them. I'm not going to come out and say anything negative or bad about them or anything. Obviously, anytime you buy a vehicle from a dealer, guys and gals, you have to understand they're in this to make money. All right, that's just the way it is. Dealerships are in it to make money, and at the end of the day, regardless of whether I got ripped off or not, and I'm absolutely not saying that I did. I will say that so far, if things don't, if we don't work something out, I have lost about $5,000 in the course of 3 weeks, which is huge on a $10,000 bike when you really think about that. Dealerships are out there to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. And I am 41 years old. I should have read every page that I was signing 100%. So, you know, you have to remember when dealing with dealerships that they can tell you whatever they want to. What really matters is what is on the documentation that you're signing. All right. And that's all I'm going to say about that for now, because I'm just trying to enjoy this bike. You know what I mean? I got what I wanted. I learned a couple hard lessons, and hopefully we can work something out. But if not, it is what it is, man. At the end of the day, I take full responsibility for being a 41-year-old that signed contracts and didn't necessarily read everything I was signing. So it happens. I'm sure we've all made that mistake before. You get caught up in the excitement, and you're just, you know, your anticipation is just going. You're ready to get on that new bike, and you're just signing your life away. And the same thing applies to cars, man. Dealerships rely on this. I will say this much though. Again, not sponsored, but Harley Davidson World in Oklahoma City here. They sold me this. They sold me this Road King, and they gave it to me for what they said it was going to be. You know, at the end of the day, when I was signing my paperwork, I was being a little more careful reading the paperwork on this. And at the end of the day, the price they told me this was going to be, the payments that this was going to be, that's exactly what it was on paper as soon as I signed it and was done out the door, and that's still the same price that it is today. So big shout out and thank you to Harley Davidson World here in Oklahoma City. They have provided me such fantastic customer service. I couldn't imagine going anywhere else. I think they've gotten themselves a customer for life. They're honest, they were fair with their pricing, and the MSF course was something that truly changed my life. Truly changed my life. Even if it's something that you won't see day to day, that course may have actually saved my life, because I've learned new riding techniques, defensive riding techniques as well, things to keep me alive and avoid a collision. And quite honestly, I recommend anybody that rides, even if you've been on a motorcycle for 20 or 30 years, you may go out there and find that you learned something new. There was a veteran rider there who hadn't ridden in a while. He'd been off his bike for a while, and he went there just to kind of freshen up before he went out on the road with his bike. And he said that even as a veteran rider, he learned so many strategies and techniques that he didn't know. He was self-taught. He got on a bike when he was a kid, and he's been riding ever since. It's good. It's a good course. There's plenty of good information out there. I highly recommend, if you got one in your area or whatever, if you're local, definitely check out Harley Davidson World, but give them a shot, man. I don't think you'll regret it. With that, guys, I think I'm going to sit on this bike a little bit, rock it back and forth, and kind of play with the friction zone, get used to the brakes, and I'm probably going to put it back in the garage, and I'll come out a little later tonight, because this thing is she's a lot bigger than a Sportster. If you enjoyed this content, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down button. Drop your comments below. Like I said, guys, please don't blow up the comment section with a bunch of hate about how stupid I am for buying this ginormous bike before I had enough miles under my belt. I'm aware, but if you just have to, I guess, go ahead and drop those comments below. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of that. Auto Auction Rebuild. Subscribe to the channel if you're not currently subscribed. We'll have more content coming for you soon. Stay safe out there, everybody. I look forward to seeing you all very soon in the next one.